Into the stream. Okay, here we go. So the 78 Summer Sprint Draft Review. Just put the invite out. Hopefully we have some joiners because this is not a season I'm an expert with at all. The first time I've ever seen this set is when here we have Willie. Hey, Willie.
Hey, what's up?
Welcome aboard.
Thanks.
Just saying, this is the first time I ever saw this set was, I don't know, less than a week ago now. This is not a set that I know very well at all. How about you?
This was actually the first set I played with when I started playing football.
So, that first one can leave an impression, right?
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, we'll take it best we can here. I'm glad to have your expertise aboard.
Not much of an expert, believe me.
Let's start at the top. So Joe had the first pick overall and went Dallas defensive line. So, first of all, just talking about where you like to line up. I know there's been some discussion over the last couple seasons here about, what's the most advantageous number to pick in the lottery. What slot do you really want? You wound up at 6, I believe. I wound up at 4. If you had it anyway, where would you want to be?
Probably around the top 5 if I could.
Mm-hmm.
Get somebody out there that I could use.
Yep.
I really liked the running back set from Kansas City.
Yeah.
That's what I would have taken if I would have been my pick at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that one is, from a newbie perspective, me walking into it, looking at it, I was like, boy, should you use the wide receiver slot here and pull those halfbacks in? Maybe there's an easy answer to this. I never got to the point where I studied it all the way. Just didn't have the chance because the wide receiver slot has questionable value. You can save a halfback slot for later. If you took the wide receivers and pull those halfback wide receivers into the wide receiver slot, or stick with halfback and pull the wide receivers in.
Yeah.
And of course, Dennis went with the halfback route. I'd say 3 is probably the best of all. If I had to pick a spot where I wanted to be, it probably would be 3, just because you get that early pick, but you also can do some things with it, right? You can do when you're on the turn, right? When it's going down 3, 2, 1 the other way in the even number drafts, you can set yourself up for your next pick, knowing you've just got 2 coaches ahead of you. For the next 4 picks, you can kind of predict what they're going to pick, and when you can predict what they're going to pick, then you can set yourself up for a nice pairing of you name it, right? You take a weak defensive backfield, and you're going to come back and you're going to get the return team because you know that it includes the quarterback that you want, and you have a really good chance of getting it just because you have 2 guys in front of you that are eating up the next 4 picks. You can get creative like that on the turn. If you're stuck in the middle, 7 or 8, 9, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You have no chance of doing that sort of thing. You just no chance. And you can project all you want, but you've got half the league is going to pick before it gets back to you every single time. So I think it's a disadvantage to be in the middle, if anything. And it's just good to be on the ends because you can pair stuff up. But in any event, you'd have taken KC halfbacks. I don't know who I would have taken. I was really happy to wind up with the Denver linebacker. I just like the flexibility there, but it's hard to argue with the Dallas linebackers. Let's take a look. 5, 6, and then that pass rush is just unbelievable. And especially against a pretty weak offensive line group. And I guess we'll take it this way. When we'll look at these couple top picks in particular, but overall we'll just sort of go team by team. And that's a great way to start off a team right there with that pass rush.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I noticed from the last tournament. The only way to get pass rush going was for me to blitz, and that would leave me a lot of holes whenever I did that. So if I could, and this set does not really have any defensive lines that actually pass rush the quarterback that well.
Yep.
So to me, at that point, I thought it was more advantageous to take a guy, set like Pittsburgh, at the defensive line, because at least it would allow me to not focus so much on the run, especially with the linebackers that I took. The one mistake that I probably made, instead of taking the offensive line from Houston, I should have taken the defensive back from Washington. Had I done so, I would have ended up with an excellent defense all the way across. So that made a big difference there. Now, part of the reason why I took the offensive line is because I thought that Dennis would take it with that running game, and I didn't want to deal with that. Imagine giving him those running backs in the second best offensive line in the set. That wouldn't have been something too pleasant to deal with later on. So,
we've all probably been in leagues like this before. Dennis probably feels the brunt of it, given it's his league. There's a lot of people looking at his team and projecting what he's going to have, like you did right there. There's probably a handful of people that look to hamstring him in particular, more than anybody else, and that's not an advantageous position to be in, and obviously you took that into account there. That Dallas line is designed to be 4-3, and it makes sense to run at 3-4, and that's exactly what Joe is going to do. He's going to end up good as a result, running the 3-4, and he's pairing that up. He's pairing it up with the Cleveland linebackers that he could get all the way in round 8. So, your early picks of the line on the defensive side sort of give you that luxury to wait if you want to. For your pairing crew, and he waited till 8 to get the Cleveland linebackers and still wound up at good. Taking Denver DB second is fine and dandy. That locked him in with the good D. Then it got interesting for him when he went with Denver tight ends at 3. And that was the very first pick, I believe, was it? Yep, very first tight end selection there in the 3rd round. And, I'll be honest with you, I know very little about the Denver tight end crew. So let's just take a look what stood out here. You got Larry Canada, fullback.
Yeah, he's an okay fullback. He's not the greatest. I mean, he gives you yards. That's what he does.
And everybody's fumble seems to be extreme here. That's a nice fumble. So 1 fumble in 79. So that's good. That means he's usable, right?
Yeah.
Then you've got, if you're following along on the screen here, just scrolling down, Ron Egloff does not seem to be much. Nope, nothing there of interest. Let's see, John Keyworth.
It may be easier if you do it the other way. I'll show you. Go back. Go to manage team. Actually, go to the top where it says, like, get off that thing. Get off that thing.
Okay, get off here.
Yeah, so get off and go to that team. Go to manage league rosters, or manage team, actually, either one. And then you see how they're split up by offense and stuff. So click on that.
Yes.
And then you put running backs are going to be all together.
Got it.
So the fullbacks are there. If you go under,
I'm there.
Yeah, if you go under running backs, you're going to be able to get even the tight ends as well. So let me show you something really quick. So close that. Click on running backs. Okay, now go to the top where it says position. And click on that. And it will sort it out, descending, whatever.
Beautiful.
So now you have the grouping right there.
Right there.
Everybody.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, super easy. So that 3rd fullback, Lonnie Perrin. All right, well, he's certainly sufficient. Guessed wrong. Can get some chunks. 2nd best fullback, it seems. He also 100 carries, 2 fumbles, so not bad at all. Now on the tight end side, you've got Riley Odoms, 54 catches. Well, there you go.
Yeah, Riley Odoms is the key right there. Riley Odoms is the one that can catch a lot of passes. He can go long too.
Yeah, and he gives you the 6 run block.
Yeah.
Is that enough?
I don't know if I would have gone tight end that early.
Yep.
There were several others that are actually pretty good. Could have waited for rounds to get.
Yep. So that's an interesting pick there. Then to the Seattle halfbacks in round 4. And that would have been the, let's see, it's pretty high. Fifth halfback group off the board. First was KC, then Houston, then KC, then Dallas, then Houston. KC, Philadelphia, Dallas, Houston. 5th was Chicago. 6th would have been Seattle, and they do have a good group.
Yeah, they have a good running back, if I recall correctly.
Just the question of carries, I believe, with Sherman Smith is the issue.
Yeah, Sherman Smith.
Yep, 165.
That will give you about 20 touches on the ball easily. So I think he catches the ball well, if I recall as well. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, sure does.
So you can put him in the flat and catch a lot of passes.
Yep.
So it's kind of a nice little,
Definitely a nice solid card
he's
there.
got features, yeah.
No doubt about it. Then.
But I tell you what, though, going back to the running backs, I don't know if I would have taken that Dallas halfback so early. What's his name? Tony Dorsett it's okay, but I don't think he should have been taken that high up. I just looked at his card and I didn't see anything that was gonna tell me, wow, I gotta take this guy.
Yeah, and he has a big fumble concern. Tony D does. So yeah, there's the card.
Yeah, there is a lot of 1 yard gain, 3 yard gains. There isn't really anything that you can say that he catches the ball good, but there's quite a lot of players like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I guess he can obviously he's a deep threat. The issue is that the fumble is so big at that level. That's what would hold me back. Is it that 4% fumble? He's got a 4.14 fumble. Is that what I just saw?
I don't know.
Yeah, 4% fumble.
Yeah.
On 290 carries. So I mean that's a really big number when you compare it to the others at the top. Earl Campbell also has a fumble that's worth worrying about, but it's not 4%. He's at 2.98. So the full percentage point plus difference.
Yeah.
And sure, I get it. I mean, I ended up taking Houston. You want a 300 carry guy on your squad. Those carries are really helpful. But that's just a really, really big fumble to have stick out there at that spot. Sticking with Joe, he went with in the 5th round, went to quarterback. So the question is, how is Joe going to move the ball? Well, he's got the Seattle halfbacks; they can move the ball, no doubt about that. And then pairing it with Jaworski, and this is the issue I think everybody's going to have. What can you get at everybody except Mike, who has a really good quarterback in Burt Jones? You've got these erratic cards with blanks and weird spots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Certainly from somebody of my generation who grew up in the 80s, you don't see many cards like Ron Jaworski's here being kind of the average card in the set. This would be, for an 80s kid like me, this is a highly subpar card. But for this set, it's middle of the road, and you're trying to do damage. You're trying to do damage on your receiver cards, right? There's a lot of really nice guessed wrong receiver cards out there across the board.
Yeah, I mean, what you want to do with him is he's got a nice long pass card. That's really what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If you look at what he has, let me see if I can add it on. 6, 11. 11 plus 4 is 15. 15. He's got 15 and 3 to 17 long game chances. Which is pretty good.
The issue there, of course, is when you pair that with the last pick of all the offensive lines, which was Atlanta for Joe. Joe, of course, being the reigning Battle Royale champion. He's got on pass blocking 5-0. If I'm not, I'm sorry, 4-2-3-0-3.
Yeah, he's gonna have trouble, with that.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to pair it up with a long pass quarterback.
Yeah.
So that could end up being a little bit of an Achilles heel. But thankfully he has the best pass rush defensive line on his own team, so he doesn't have to face himself.
I didn't catch him.
Let's move on to Butch. Butch's second pick went with another defensive line. San Diego defensive line gets the nod there.
Yeah. And I didn't really look at that defensive line. I'm sure they also have a good pass rush.
Yeah, let's take a look here. So in a 3-4 set, and I'm not sure if he ended up doing a 3-4. Yeah, Butch is gonna go 34. He's got a 5 end with 10 pass rush, a 6 nose with a 6 pass rush, and a 5 right end with a 12 6-star. So plenty of
first thing that's what got him. Yeah.
So that's what drew him in. That makes sense. Very solid there. Second pick went with DBs. So he left that linebacker hole in the middle. A lot of people like to get safety, like to lock in the rating of good or excellent. But when you pair a defensive line, defensive back, he left the mystery alive with the linebackers, but he knew he was going back on the turn, right? This is the end of the second round, moving back to the third. So he was going to pick 3 picks later. And was betting on Joe not taking whoever he wanted, and he ended up with the Minnesota linebackers third. So he went defense, and wound up good. Joe went defense, and also wound up good. With so many excellents out there, it was interesting these guys didn't grab one. Fourth pick, Cleveland offensive line.
I think he's in the top 8 or something, if I recall.
Mm-hmm. Then Pastorini at quarterback.
I don't like Pastorini. He's like really erratic.
Yeah, he could pass on all levels. I mean, I guess that's his advantage, right? Is that he can throw flat, he can throw short, he can throw long. But he's got his downsides.
Yeah.
He's got some picks deep.
Yeah.
Most of these quarterbacks, you have to pick a poison. You know, you've got to pick some sort of. You're watching out for fumbles, of course, right? And snap fumbles, and that's Brian Sipes' downfall. And
that's me, Brian Sipes. My fumbleitis.
Yep. So, but you got to pick your poison. I mean, Sipes got a great card otherwise. In the case of Pastorini, there's no flaming downside here. I mean, the interception's a little bit high, but he can throw short, he can throw fast, he can throw flat, he can throw long. I would have taken him because I picked 2 picks later and took my quarterback Detroit. I would have taken Pastorini. I would have taken Pastorini over Detroit if given the choice. I thought it was the best available at that point. Now, what he could have done is take Jaworski in the previous round and locked in Jaworski instead of Pastorini. But that's to me those two are real close. I actually had Pastorini ahead of Jaws as well. Minnesota wides, and he ended up getting his halfback super late. So San Francisco halfbacks.
Yeah. San Francisco halfbacks aren't that great. I looked at him before, and I told you about O.J. Simpson. He said he would kill for you. but
yeah, there's some trouble there. There's definitely some trouble there. So you've got is Paul Hoffer, a guy I never heard of.
Nah.
Is he their best guy? 121 carries. OJ with 161
OJ does
carries.
catch the ball. That's what he does. He does catch the ball pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, not so much this year, though. And then Dave Williams. Let's see here. Only 15 carries, so nothing there.
He's not going to do anything.
I really would like to ask Butch about – I'm not sure who else was available at that point. I wasn't in the business of ranking the halfbacks that late. But he had the second to last halfback group. So he had, a good dozen to choose from, right?
Yeah.
And he went San Fran. Would love to hear why. Not that that's a criticism. I just don't know.
Yeah.
So Pastorini with those halfbacks means he's going to get a lot of guest pass on Pastorini. That's the forecast for Butch.
Yep. No doubt.
And he's got a good offensive line with Cleveland to deal with pass rush, but is Pastorini's card good enough to deal with all that guess right passing?
Yep.
Aiden went DB at number 3.
Just the best defensive back set in the whole thing, I think, if I recall.
Yes. As you look at the combos with the Rams here, so it's just strolling through. Excellence is above 29, right?
No, 30.
30. Okay, so he had 1, 2, 3. He had 4 chances for excellent out of the 3, 4. And then he had column A, row 1 is DB. He had a whopping 7 pairings for excellent.
Yep.
Out of the
that would have
4-3.
made it tough to deal with because that counts for a lot of this game.
Yeah. So that brought him that excellent pass. He ended up with at 30. So excellent pass, good run. There is none other in the set. So Aiden has separated himself there among all of us as having the highest defensive ratings. The other excellents out there are all paired with an average.
Yep.
So he's the only excellent good. So in that spot, wheeling back around, and what's interesting about it too is that he didn't go defense in the second round. So he went with New Orleans quarterback in the second round and still wound up.
Archie Manning.
Yep. Still wound up with the best defensive rating. So really nice drafting there.
Yep.
To get Archie and still end up with the best defensive rating, you would think you'd need to invest your first 2 picks in defense to be able to wind up with that. What do you think of Archie's card?
Archie's really good.
Yeah, it's a nice card.
Yeah, a solid card.
Yep. Yep. And those must runs he makes count too.
I would have taken Archie and his sons.
Oh, we had somebody join here. Hello, Dennis.
Hey, what's up, guys?
How are you?
What are you doing?
I'm just listening in while I work on the league files. Just keep going.
Yeah, I can't wait to the exhibition game going to see how bad my team is.
We're talking about Aiden's team at the moment, who was the only team that wound up good and excellent on D. So he's got a nice advantage there. And he managed to do it while also spending a second-round pick on Archie Manning. So, that's a nice start to the draft. So with Archie, he is pairing the halfback group of Pittsburgh, which he grabbed all the way down in 8.
Yeah, the only issue with that one is the fact that their best running back is actually paired up with the fullbacks. So he ends up with Rocky Blyer and Jack Delapiani. Sidney Thornton was already paired up with all the fullbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit of an issue there.
Yeah, so the carries go to Blyer, 165. And unless he picked him up, did he pick up? And that's the other thing, too. I'm not paying close enough attention if these guys, if Butch picked up a halfback along the way with one of his other groups in Buffalo, maybe, on the kick return. And, I don't think Aiden picked anybody up in San Fran. But if that's the case, we have another situation with Butch and Aiden where they're going to be facing a ton of guest right passing.
Yeah.
The difference here, I think, however, is that Archie Manning can actually deal with it. I'm not sure if Pastorini can.
Correct. Pastorini is not that good when you guess right. That's part of his big problem.
Yeah. So looking closer at Archie again, great intercepts, guessed right. I mean, most guessed wrong interceptions in this set are worse than his guessed right.
Yep.
Yeah. And you can throw on 3 levels. I mean, long isn't great, but certainly not bad. So, if anything, a concern of a lot of guessed right passing for Aiden, but overall, you really can't complain with those defensive ratings.
Wow.
4th pick I had, and I went Denver linebacker, and that was primarily because it just gave me flexibility down the line. I could push off either the defensive backs or the defensive line to the last pick of the draft and still end up good. That's the logic behind the pick, is that you can just take your defensive line at the very, very end, 4 picks from the end, and still wind up with a good defense.
Makes sense.
The second round pick of Houston halfbacks is a tough one. Because, Campbell's, if you ask me, Campbell's a little bit undercarded, I would say.
Yeah, Campbell in real life was a lot more powerful than that card shows.
Yep.
He was just ridiculous how good he was in real life. Here, he gets a lot of -1s, +2s. The short game is nice, when you get that 6, but I think he's a little bit underwhelming as far as where he really should be. He should be a lot better than this.
Yep, I would agree he's undercarded. But then again, when I just compared him to the rest of the set, it was, well, it's a chunky card, and none of us, I don't think any of us like chunky cards, right? I think we'd all choose consistency if we could, to move the chains instead of big chunks. He's not chunky like, I don't know, who was it? The San Diego Atlanta, Michael Turner a couple years ago for Atlanta, right? Who like everything except 2 and 12 was no gain. He's not that chunky, but he's chunky enough to be annoying when you're getting 0 yards off tackle 8. And that can certainly annoy you, or that 1 yard gain on 9. But yeah, that short gain on 6 across the board is a big differentiator. And of course, he's just going to pop some. I mean, with all those readings on 4, and there's a couple cards in the set that have those nice wrong readings on 4. He's one of them. Yeah. The difference is that he's got that short gain across the board to hopefully keep the chains moving. He doesn't bring much out of receiving. That's where Walter Payton will give you, a boost, and that's the case for Walter. Is he's a better blocker, better passer, doesn't fumble as much. Campbell at 3% fumble is going to be an issue. He's going to fumble every now and then, and that's really why I, looking at my squad, went with the Oakland quick returners later.
Well, I'll tell you what, I still have nightmares of Earl Campbell running on an end run on the Dolphins in a Monday Night Football game back then for like 60-something yards to basically shut down the door and the fence.
It's funny. I just watched that game a couple nights ago.
Oh, did you?
Well, on YouTube. Yeah, it was a hell of a game, though. Man, back and forth they went.
Yep. That was a great game.
Yep. So, Houston, and then that's paired with the Detroit quarterbacks. The Detroit quarterbacks are kind of a novelty in that you have a high fumble guy in Greg Landry, but I think he's got a 17 or 18 snap fumble, but he can throw the flat pass very effectively. Yep. And then you've got a decent turnover guy in Danielson. So what you're going to see for me probably is a lot of Danielson, unless I'm losing and willing to take some chances and want to get Landry in the game, because it's with that combination of flat pass and Campbell, I should be able to move the ball pretty well, but it's a high turnover percentage. So if I'm in the mood to take chances, you're going to see Greg Landry. If I'm not in the mood to take chances, you're going to see Gary Danielson, and maybe even Earl Campbell off the field.
Yeah.
With
the one disadvantage of Landry that I noticed is the fact that his long pass is almost non-existent.
Yep.
So people can actually play close to you and, make sure they cover the flats and all that, and actually, take advantage of that. As you can
imagine, though, that's why I went with the Giants tight ends. Yeah. Because just to flood as much long passing receiving into there as possible, because that 0-man long, you just got to get to the other card. If you get to the receiver card, then definitely want to make people pay the price for climbing up into the flats for Landry. You need to have the receivers to do it, and the Giants can go deep. Their tight ends go deep really nicely. Yep. Cincinnati receivers are about average, but average in this set is pretty good. The receivers generally are good across the board. So let's move on to Dennis. Dennis, you're here. You want to walk through the logic of KC halfback if you can?
Yeah, come on. That team sucks. It's really bad.
Well, that was just a no-brainer pick. I actually was going to pick the Denver linebackers or the Kansas City running backs, depending on who you took, Anthony. So I knew that was the 2 units I wanted after the first 3. And it's just they can run right, guess wrong. They can run right. They can run good, guess right. So they're just somebody that's going to make your quarterback better. I made a couple of mistakes in the draft. One thing is that I picked the offensive line instead of picking Jim Hart, because I think he would have worked really well as the quarterback. And the second time is when I went with the wide receivers, the Jets wide receivers, instead of getting the fullback unit. I wanted the Houston fullback tight end group to get another good guess right runner, and then to add in they have a really good tight end too. So I thought, well, I'll get either them or maybe New Orleans on the way back. Both of them got taken by Rick and Jay, and so I wound up with Pittsburgh, who's kind of not as good run blocking, and he can't really go deep that well. So, I mean, I'm happy with the team. I think it'll definitely be competitive, but I don't think, it could have gone really, really, really well if I would have made those 2 choices differently.
Now, your pick of the Washington DBs prevented me from getting an excellent pass defense, so thank you very much for that. Right there.
Well, you can blame actually you can blame Willie for that because I was going to take the Houston offensive line, which would have put me in a totally different setup, but he took them, and I go, okay, well, let me just get my good pass defense locked down and prevent you from getting excellent. I try, it's not fun. Joe just won Battle Royale with excellent pass D, and I think we wound up with 2 teams with excellent pass D again, and 1 with excellent run D, or 2 with excellent run D. Let me see. Look at the spreadsheet right now. So we have 2 excellent pass defenses in Georgia and St. Pete, and then Willie got the excellent run defense. So there's 3 excellent defensive units we're going to have to worry about.
Yep. Talk about. I was just curious. Round 7, your kicker pick? You had Danny White at punter already. Who has a block on there? Were you going to take San Diego if I didn't in 7, or were you headed for the Jets?
No, I actually wanted that one that was already taken. I didn't realize it. Gosh, who was it? Let me pull up my combo sheet here. I tried to take him, and then somebody said, "Oh yeah, they're already gone." I was like, "Oh okay." Well, let me just. Where's the kickers at? This is riveting. Okay, here it is. So it was. Gosh, who was it? No, I can't even see it now. I think I may have deleted it trying to help somebody else out with their unit. But I'm fine with taking. I really like Pat Leahy as a kicker, and I can. The rules are if you have the guy in your team, you can pick either unit. So I'll use Danny White as the punter, but the return unit I'll use as the Jets return unit, which doesn't have the block at least. So it's I think there was a. Gosh, I wish I could target which one it was. Maybe it was Bernard. You know what? I think it was Bernarska. I think I was going to take him. Yeah, you're right. I tried to take him, and you'd already taken him because he has like 2 through 10 all the way out to the 32, which is crazy.
Yeah, and then goes. There's a few that had that though. So we're looking at the rankings here. There was 5 kickers in my mind anyway that really separated themselves, which was Rolf Upredeman, of course, who went first and very early. Fritsch, Thomas, and Dempsey all have 33 chances, 23 to 32 yards, and then Rolf and Garrow gave you the added bonus of being a deep threat too. You put him with 18 chances, 33 plus, and Rolf with 15.
Okay, now I remember. It was Thomas. It was the Chicago guy I was going to take, but then Aiden took him on the way back, so I didn't have a chance to do it. That's when I went to the Jets guy, because I would have done the same thing with him. Just use him. His punter is actually better than Danny White, the Chicago punter. So that would have been a great unit to get. But Aiden took care. Took him piecemeal.
Yeah. Well, that San Diego punter is their downfall, but it turned out you had that punter from Danny White from the QB pick, and I had the extra punter from the Cincinnati wide receivers. So that could actually make that San Diego kicking unit work when you don't have to take the worst punter in the set with them.
Right. Hey, I have the rosters. I don't have the schedule in there. I don't have all the defensive cards set, but I'm going to send you this because then you can pull it up by team and actually see the computer managers with the with how they're assigned. So I don't know if that'll help you. Instead of looking through the 78 rosters, you can look through the actual Summer Spirit rosters. So look for that in your email in a minute or so.
Okay. So just to summarize, Dennis, for you, you got the Dallas QB, Staubach, who, what's nice about him is his turnovers are pretty low across the board, fumbles, interceptions. Otherwise, his passing is about, right in the middle, right? Would you say? I mean, obviously middle to high.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. Yeah.
But he's not going to fumble and he's not going to throw it away. I mean, I figured that's what you were doing there.
Plus, he can run a little bit too. He can run the end run.
Yeah, but I would never do that with the Kansas City backs. Especially with all those negatives there, because people are going to be calling run against me. I assume.
Yeah, more than likely, except for me.
Fair enough.
I almost took him instead of the wide receivers on San Diego at that time. I almost did. I almost jumped and took him. I was debating which one to take, and then I ended up going the other way because I just fell in love with all those receivers in San Diego. They're just so good.
So let's talk about your draft, Willie. So you started with Pitt DL, as you were in an interesting spot there.
Yeah.
What drove you to Pitt? Which would, at that point, you get the third best defensive line. You can take the first best from so many other groups. So, that's what you're probably struggling with. How did you end up with Pitt?
Well, I struggled back and forth between taking the Baltimore quarterback or taking the Pittsburgh defensive line. It was going to be one or the other, and I thought, well, I can always get a quarterback later. I also love Bob Greasy because I'm a Dolphin fan, but it made no sense to me to not take Burt Jones ahead of Greasy. So I just said, you know what? Defense wins championships. I'll just take the Pittsburgh defense. They're going to be really good against the run. So that will help my team down the line a little bit more, I thought. So I thought to myself, well, let me just build the team from the inside out rather than the other way around. So this is pretty much what I did.
And you wound up excellent against the run, average against the pass.
Yeah, the pass, what happened is that I thought there was at least, and I talked to Dennis about it, and I thought there was at least one or two defensive units there that could have helped me make it a good defense in the back. But the New England team got destroyed when they took those that kick return team.
Yep.
So that kind of messed me up a little bit. I should have probably jumped a little sooner on those. So at that point, I just said, you know what, I'm just going to wait and get whatever comes back to me. The Houston offensive line was basically to make sure that Dennis didn't get him. That's what. Sorry, Dennis, but that was part of my thought. It was like, I cannot give you all these running backs as well as the best, the second best blocking running line in the whole set. So I took him ahead, knowing that would stop you from just destroying the whole league, by taking the KC guys as well as the second best line. So.
That's the way to do it. See, you're already a veteran at this format. I love it.
Yeah. And then when he came back to me, the Dallas linebackers made sense for me to have an excellent defense in the run. That's pretty much what I thought at that point. So, as I mentioned before on the way back, I just look at if you look at those San Diego receivers, and Dennis, I think was a little surprised too when he looked at him of how many good receivers they have. They have like 4 or 5 good receivers. So that's really going to help down the line. If you look at the receivers there, take a look at them, you'll see.
Yeah, so we have Artie Owens with a huge average of 20.9. With an even bigger average coming up behind him with Dwight McDonald.
Right.
28.
Yep.
Huge short pass yards. You can sustain a sack. And still convert a first down with these guys.
You forgot Johnny Rogers, I think, as well.
Johnny Rogers, up there at the top.
But he's more of like a kick returner.
Yep.
Than anything else. But he's pretty consistent too.
Yeah.
I just don't like the lack of hits on that unit. The yardage is great, but I want guys to be maxed out. Like I think that at the point you took them, the Pittsburgh wide receivers were still available, which your buddy Ken took later on.
Yeah.
But if you hit those big numbers, you're loving life.
Yeah, and this is the best receiver they have is Charlie Joyner or John Jefferson. He's dangerous, and
he's fantastic.
I figured they're going to try to double team him a lot, and that's going to allow the other guys to get open. So that was my thought on it.
Then you got another 25 average.
Another 25, yeah. So they just get chunks of yards. That's the nice thing about it.
Yeah. So. The quarterback of Sipe. So I mean, this team I guess we have to go down and look at the Baltimore halfbacks, but you got obviously a quarterback that for his pure card, and you take away the fumbles, would be taken probably a round earlier.
Yeah.
The fumble I know held probably 4 or 5 guys from taking him.
Yeah, and this one, it came down to a point where Ron Lee seemed to be the best choice. If you can see, he's got the short gains on the 6.
Yeah.
And, he's going to help you there. Washington is a pretty good receiver catching the ball. I remember still Howard Cosell saying, "Look at that little monkey go." So, he's consistent. He's not going to break you that long once, but, he's going to keep you in the game.
Yeah.
So that was the thought of it. At that point, Denver is who I wanted. Denver, the running backs is who I wanted, but they were taking, I believe, 1 or 2 spots ahead of me taking it. So
Yeah.
that was the whole deal about this.
Yeah, you can get some yards here. It looks like looking at Ron Lee, Linebuck is not a bad place to be for him.
No.
Because you're going to get some yards guessed wrong if people are focusing in on Sipe. Off tackle, you're going to get disappointed on 7 and 8.
Yeah.
And of course 5, but Linebuck is a pretty consistent spot. Obviously, you're not getting the big gainers on 2 and 12, but you can move the chains with his Linebuck wrong.
Yeah, and you pair him up with Leroy Harris, the Dolphins tight ends and running back, fullback group. You got Norm Bullock and Leroy Harris. They're pretty decent. They're probably better running the ball than these guys are. So that will give you a little bit of consistency there.
Yeah.
Leroy's got some decent chunks of yards there on the 5 and the 4 and the 9.
Yep. Yeah.
And Norm Bullock is a little bit better. So, the one advantage that they have is that Leroy Harris, as well as their tight end, they're both 6 blockers. So that's going to help your offensive line too. So that's the thought of it.
Okay.
And I took the Baltimore kick returner mainly because Washington is in that set. So I figure worst comes to worst, I'll have a running back that'll be halfway decent. So that was the end of it.
You locked him in before getting the halfback. Yeah. So it's will the snap fumble get you when it's inconvenient, or will it get you when early in the game when it's okay? Because you can definitely move the ball with this squad. Houston offensive line, Cleveland quarterback who's got an excellent passing guard, and he can run a little bit too.
Yeah,
and those deep wide receivers.
And I was surprised that the kicker was still around, because that kicker, he was actually probably better than some of the kickers that were taken right before him, because he's got a bigger advantage on trying to hit from 22 to 32 yards, if I recall correctly. If you look at the numbers that they have, did a little bit better. So
he's got Ray Wershing.
He's got 15
chances.
Like some of the guys that were taking only had 10.
Yeah, that's true.
So they, he's got a little bit of that advantage on that.
The average for the set is 18. He's got 15.
Yeah, and he's got 33 from the other one. So,
and the max extra point in the set.
I wanted to take Magilla Gorilla, but just to say the name, but he wouldn't have worked out too well.
All right, now Mike had a very interesting draft, probably the most interesting draft. I love contrarians. I love this stuff, sort of having a different strategy going in. And if you look at everybody's draft, Mike's draft sticks out. Going offense.
Yeah, I made a comment to Kenny. He made a comment to me like, "Wow, look at this guy! He's going all offense. He's got no defense at all. It's going to cost him later on."
And where did he wind up on the defensive side? Mike is average.
You pretty much can't get worse than average in this set. There's so many good linebackers. Quick question, Anthony. Are you using the San Diego punt return coverage, or are you using the other guy? What's the other team you have?
At least for now, I've decided it's going to be the Cincinnati to avoid the long gain on 12 of San Diego.
On the punt return coverage only?
On the punt return coverage, yeah.
Right. Okay, great. And then the kickoff coverage is still San Diego.
That's got to be San Diego. Yeah, I don't have that choice, right?
Perfect. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay, great. I'm just finishing up.
I might change my mind. I'll let you know if I do before we get going.
Sure, but once I produce those files, you got to tell me before that, because then I couldn't. I'd have to redo all the pre-files again.
Would you say how long do I have? An hour or something?
No. Until tomorrow, whatever.
Okay.
I'm just like putting together the preliminary files. Then I'll have everybody check it and let me know how it looks.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Sorry for interrupting.
No worries. So it cost him, meaning he's average, but did he get enough back? And I think really, you honed in on it before. Was the Dallas halfbacks the right choice there? And Dennis, if you want to chime in with an opinion on that, that would be good too. As the third, Wilbert Montgomery went second.
I know that Rick was saying he was going back and forth between Wilbert Montgomery and Walter Payton, but this is just like we talked about with Earl Campbell not having a vintage Earl Campbell card, that Walter Payton card wasn't that exciting. So I can see why he went with the Dallas running backs for more short games.
Walter Payton doesn't fumble at all. That's the nice thing about Walter Payton.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that doesn't look that exciting, but I do like getting those plus 23, plus 21 on 4, and the long gains on the edge. You need those big plays in this league because the rule set favors the defenses.
And again, I'm not. This is a set that I knew nothing about coming into it. So, what about this card is better than, or this? Is there something else in here that would make you take Dallas ahead of Houston, knowing that Dorsett's fumbles 25% higher than Campbell? That's and you look at the card. I mean, there's similar cards, except Campbell has that 6 short gain across the board.
Well, that 6 short gain across the board comes in pretty handy.
Yeah.
That's that much I can tell you.
Yeah. That's actually where I was surprised Campbell didn't go there. And yeah, you could make the case for Payton too. The problem with Payton, of course, is that you're not going to get many run calls. You're not going to induce a ton of run calls here. Right. And if you do, if you take that for granted, I mean, the only place it's going to really hurt you is on the end run. But God forbid somebody does call run, you got losses, pretty hefty losses, 5-6, and then no gain on 7.
Yeah,
it's not like it's a great end run right card.
Yeah, he's just I guess so. I mean, I didn't, he's got the plus 76 on the end run, but to hit the 2. It's so hard to hit it, You really have to hit it at the right time, and it doesn't happen very often. So he's very consistent on catching the ball, which is nice.
Right, but
that's the one advantage that I see.
He brings all the intangibles. I mean, all the intangibles are there.
Yeah.
But a typical Walter Payton card has a lot more short gains in the middle. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
So he has them on the end runs, but the other columns they're more chunky.
It's a very unspectacular card. It just brings you those.
It's just a name, that's all it is.
Well, it's solid. I mean, it's solid as can be, and I think it makes sense. I think Jason taking him there in the mid-3rd to me is where it should go. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
It's right at value. The Dallas halfbacks there, I had them behind Houston and Chicago, so that's.
I think Michael may not have looked at the fumbles. That's a big thing. That's going to hurt you. It's going to frustrate him, I think. Yep.
Unless he compensated later with his kick returners or a halfback he got in that deal, I don't think so.
No, like I said, you can pull up the rosters are pretty much set for the one I sent you. So if you wanted to look at that, that might be a way to answer those questions.
Right. Stand by.
Again, there's a couple of units missing. I just realized my D line and your D line were missing, but it has pretty much everything else.
Heard that. I can get that in. And Willie, while I do that, if you want to finish off the Mike conversation and move on to Ron, please do.
Yeah. Take a look.
I think we had somebody else too in the waiting room. So if
we do. I didn't hear that noise.
Did I see that? Oh no, that's not. Never mind. There's 4 of us here, but one of them is your screen. Makes sense. But Mike has a solid team. I mean, he does have the best quarterback in the set in Burt Jones, and that can make a big difference on getting more guest wrong calls on the Dallas halfbacks. So he'll be in there. He'll be in the mix.
Yeah, I'm learning as I go, Dennis. Learning basically how to draft in these sets.
Yeah, so. Let me look at the. I think he may have picked up a fullback that can run. Yeah, he got the Washington fullbacks. And
I wanted him so bad. You have no idea.
That's got John Riggins in the set.
That's what I'm saying. And Gene Fugate too. Gene Fugate is a really good tight end.
Right. So he's gonna have more options than just.
Yeah, I really wanted John Riggins. He took it 2 picks before I was gonna take him.
Yeah, and then Clarence Harmon's in that group, who's a good guest right runner.
Yeah.
So he'll have some choices besides Dorsett if he wants to binge him.
What I liked about Riggins is the fact that he gives you 3, 4, 5 yards at a time, and that's a pain in the ass because you're trying to play somebody.
Right. So, and Doug Dennison has those short gains off tackle, guessed wrong, and on linebacker and then run. So he'll be another guy you'll see a little bit of, I bet. So yeah, it's got some options. Preston Pearson as a halfback that can go deep. It's pretty nice. So,
What's the team name for Mike?
he's the Dracut Middies.
Got it. Okay, yes, he's got John Riggins in there.
If you move your king, you can't castle.
Yeah, the fullbacks do help.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's what's unique about these 70s sets. You have a lot more fullbacks that ran the ball and ran it pretty effectively.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to Ron, who started with Green Bay DB, went back and solidified his pass defense in the second round with the Giants linebackers. And he wound up good as a result there. First pick we took the second tight end group overall with Oakland to get Casper and company.
Yeah.
In round 3.
And Mark Van Egan. Van Egan is not the runner that he was earlier in his career.
Yeah.
Van Egan is kind of average now at this stage.
Yeah, that card is very sort of, for these fullbacks anyway, pretty bland, right?
Pretty pedestrian, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see if I can bring, I think Ron is Pittsburgh. Yeah. There's Van Egan. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I've seen better cards than that. He doesn't fumble. That's the nice thing about it, but it's.
And then he's got the Miami halfbacks. Is that correct, or the Denver halfbacks? Denver halfbacks.
Yeah, that's the way I want it. Denver halfbacks is pretty decent. They got good averages.
Dave Preston is one. Rob Little, 81 carries, gives us some short gains. Otis Armstrong, 112 carries. Not much there.
Not much there.
And adds in Gary Davis, 62 carries. Yeah, he's got some pops. Yeah.
He's give you a punt return, I think. Also, I think he's a punt returner.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Kickoff returner. And he's pairing that with Jim Zorn, who was taken.
He's a pretty decent little quarterback. I thought that Dennis might take him because he's a Seattle fan.
6th quarterback taken.
Yeah. He Ron told me, this is a funny story. He says, "Oh, I thought the Dallas quarterback was gone because he took him before I took him. I thought maybe he took him because Zorn's better than Staubach, guessed wrong short and guessed wrong long. But we'll see. Both of them are pretty similar cards between Staubach
Dennis,
and Zorn.
I can tell you that Zorn was not going to make it to you. I was going to take him ahead of you.
Fair enough.
Poor Dennis. Everybody's gaming against you, Dennis.
I don't mind. I mean, like I said, it makes the league fun. You got to do that. I'm gaming against everybody else too. So all fair in love and strat.
Again, from the outside looking in, I thought this was early for Zorn. And I did not have in-depth ratings done for these guys. I didn't have them that high. I had him just below Staubach, and I guess Ron thought that'd be the case too. He would have taken him. He thought if he thought they were there, he would have taken the Dallas QBs. Dennis,
he wanted the Dallas quarterbacks, but he thought they were gone, so he went to his next one on his list.
I would agree with him. Not that it's a huge reach or anything. I mean, it's right in the zone.
You just have all those blanks on guessed right throws, which will drive you nuts.
Yeah.
The Miami kick returners are really good because it brings in Doyle Harris with it, and Harris is a really good receiver.
Ron set off a chain of 12 picks where 5 of them are quarterbacks. So 6 of those 12 picks right in there were quarterbacks. That's where the quarterbacks went fast and furious on that turn. Dennis getting Dallas after. Then on the turn, Joe got Philly, Butch got Houston. I took Detroit, and Willie took Cleveland. And that sort of, and 4 picks later went Barkowski, who has a nice long pass, as I recall, but everything else is a disaster. Really nice long pass. I think I guessed wrong 7 long game on that part for Brian. But Ron really set off the QB run. And you could say it even started late in the third with the St. Louis, Minnesota, San Diego, Pittsburgh run as well. So you sort of had a couple groups of quarterbacks clearing out in that range. And Ron was in a position to get his pick out of, the next 6 that went, and he went with Zorn. Because he would have gone with Dallas, but pairs that with the Denver halfbacks. We just look at to me they don't look that great, Willie. I don't know. I mean, They look like an 8th round pick to me. Those Denver
Anthony,
halfbacks.
when you're drafting at that spot and you need a running back, they look
Yep.
really good all of us. It's like when you're in a bar and all the pretty girls are gone, and you had a couple of beers, and the girl starts looking really good.
Well, it looks overall, it looks like Ron's going to have some trouble moving the ball because he's got, not a spectacular quarterback, not spectacular halfbacks, and the second to last offensive line. But he's got a very good defense to compensate for it.
Yeah, he's got the Miami receivers. Nat Moore is pretty good.
Mhm. Yep.
Cephalo is okay. I mean, he's not great, but he could have really taken huge advantage if he would have taken another wide receiver group and add Duriel Harris on top of that, because that would have given him 3 really good receivers on the spot. So that's kind of a bit of a mess up here. I think so at that point.
Jason had probably the most interesting first round pick, I'd say, right?
I think it was a brilliant move.
Yep. Yeah, it was a good one. I mean, it just is an offensive pick as much as an offensive pick, right? So he's taking away very quickly other people's picks that they would have done, that they probably would have pulled the trigger on in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, I honestly thought I could get that in the second round, but I didn't think anybody else noticed that. I guess these guys are Eagles; they notice everything. So because I saw the same thing, and they had Stanley Morgan out there, which is an outstanding receiver in those corners, and I thought, wow, this is pretty nice, and maybe nobody will notice I'll catch him in the second round, but nope.
So
he took him early.
In total, that haul brought him Stanley Morgan and Michael Haynes and Claiborne, right?
Yeah.
So Haynes and Claiborne, is that a 6 and a 5 back there?
I think they're both 5s. Is that it, Dennis?
No, 6 and a 5.
Yeah.
6 and a 5.
And Stanley Morgan. So it just blows up the New England DB picks.
Yeah.
Blows up the New England wide receiver. Without Morgan, it makes it a much more, you're not going to stretch for them anywhere near the early rounds. And I mean, obviously it makes for a bit of a scattered draft for you as you go along, but for Jason, but he held it together, paired it with the Dallas DBs. So he had the 5 and the 6 and brought the Dallas DBs in. I'm not at the point of analyzing that in any depth.
Well, I'll tell you right now, the Dallas DBs had 2 4 starting cornerbacks and a 5 and a 6 at safety.
Oh wow!
So it was a perfect match for him. So now that unit, instead of having 19 points, it has 23 or 22.
Yep.
5 and 6, 5 and 6. Yeah, no, 22.
Did he end up with an excellent defense in the back?
He did. He's got excellent pass defense. Average against run, but excellent against the pass.
Wow. Makes a difference.
It sure does.
So he's got what's his team name?
He is the Georgia Storm.
Thank you. So looking at those DBs, So Charlie Waters and Cliff Harris, get paired with.
Yeah, it's going to be almost
Haynes
impossible to throw against this guy, with that kind of talent.
Yeah.
He's got, even his backups are 4s. So
He's got like 4 backup, 4 quarter DBs. It's crazy.
maybe he can make a trade for a couple of those.
Yeah, no trading.
Yeah, bummer.
That ain't summer sprint.
And then the offensive battery is Craig Morton paired with Walter Payton. Morton has nice turnover situation. I mean, he's got, I think, a slightly elevated QB fumble. I think it's a 3 QB fumble rating, a good snap fumble. But and a card that is unspectacular, but good. I mean, solid. Here's his
Got a nice
card.
passing line there.
Yep, certainly in the mix.
Yeah.
In that group that went early in the round. I mean, people who took Pastorini, me with Detroit, you with Sipe. I mean, I think all of us were thinking, okay, we all had Morton right up against those guys, and he ended up getting him later. So it's pretty good value on the pick. The question of, it all comes down to what's your quarterback halfback pairing and being able to move the ball consistently. And he's pairing Morton with Payton. So it lacks a huge pop that some others have, but he's got that defense to compensate for it. I think, very low turnovers.
Yeah, I think Morton is a very salty pick.
Salty. Define salty.
Like Morton Salt.
But it needs some,
I
needs some
like
drums
it.
needs some drums in the background. So low turnovers is the name of the game here. You know, he might fumble on a sack, Craig Morton, and the receivers might fumble a little bit. But this card is nice for INTs. He doesn't have a snap fumble. Pairing that with Peyton, who brings him blocking, who brings him very low turnovers, albeit an unspectacular running card. He might struggle to produce points.
I think if
Might struggle. Good line in San Diego, and then ended up with the New England wide receivers when it was all said and done. So Stanley Morgan was reunited with his guys.
could have taken huge advantage. He could have taken another receiver set and add Morgan as a third receiver. Would have been a real pain he has to play in them.
But it allowed him to stay ahead of the curve on some of the units, knowing that he could take New England at the end and still have a really good group.
I mean, he would have taken, say, the Pittsburgh Steelers receivers or the San Diego. It would have been dangerous to have those guys out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's true. But again, like I said, it kept him ahead of the other units. So he was able to get, leave the wide receivers till the very end and still come up with a really solid group.
Yep.
The fullbacks to pair with Peyton, just looking for some more pop. He's got Larry Brinson there, who's got short gains, guess wrong, 6'7" on off tackle.
Newhouse is decent too, if I read.
You just got to check these guys' fumbles too. So 1 fumble and 18 attempts, so it's probably an elevated fumble. Yeah, Newhouse. Yeah, Newhouse is pretty decent.
Yeah.
Certainly more short gains. I check his fumble. 140 carries. He only fumbled once, so that's pretty clean. Scott Laidlaw, 75 carries. Not much there compared to. I'm sure Newhouse can catch too. About average. And good blocking. I mean, across the board.
Yeah, this guy be the sickest man in America. You remember that?
No.
In the Super Bowl? No, you remember that.
I was 3 years old, unfortunately.
Jackie Smith. He dropped the.
He dropped a
right, sure.
wide open. I remember.
He was sliding on his butt, and it just went right in his stomach, and he dropped it.
He's the thickest man in America.
And Billy Joe Dupree, probably not his best card, but he can do some damage.
Yep.
And he's a 6 blocker as well. So that's a pretty interestingly constructed team. You got to give him that much, right? I mean, it's when you put it all together, Morton with Peyton and a really nice defense. Jason has put together a very interesting team. Certainly highly competitive. Brian opened up with the offensive line in the 8th pick. Rams. So, Rams offensive line.
It's your best offensive line in the set.
With 50 points, 2 behind New England, right? And St. Louis.
He is the eerie silence, if you want to look at him in the game.
Thank you. The highest run total of 28 and pass points of 22, which put him 5th, I think, in pass. And looking at this, so that's what do we think of that? I've taken an offensive line the first round before. It didn't work out for me.
Me either.
So I'm a little skeptical just because of my past experience.
Yeah, I took the Dallas offensive line the last tournament, and it's do a hell of a lot.
And it's a run heavy line. So who's running behind that line? Let's see here.
Nobody that's outstanding. George Coder lasted forever.
The biggest average is Ragsdale. Not much there.
No.
Who got the most carries in here, would you say?
I think it's Coder.
Coder, thank you. Who's a giant halfback, fullback. Yep.
He's pretty average.
Yeah.
The Seahawks guy's going to run a little bit, I think. Testerman and Sims maybe.
Let's take a look at Sims. 174 carries. So you get some carries there, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's a
And
good card. That's his better card.
I somehow
Yep.
remember this.
Yep. Keeps it inside. You know, an issue, though, is Barkowski. You know, pairing these guys with Barkowski. You're, of course, afraid of Barkowski's long pass, which is pretty lethal.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to probably throw that long pass a lot. And who's he throwing to?
So you get a lot of guessed wrong runs behind a really good offensive line with mediocre to above average backs, and maybe that's a way to move the chains a little bit and then hit you with that deep pass once in a while.
Yep, and he's got some deep threats, it seems. So let's take a look here. Ricky Feature, not so much in catches long. Reggie Rucker, and his 43 catches with the 21 average. There you go.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Dave Logan, 37 catches. Decent average for sure, 16. Not bad at all. And then Larry Mucker, 13 catches. Oh, that is a nice 7. Right, wrong on long pass. So you might be looking for some big plays here at quarterback.
Yeah.
Try to keep people at bay with a sort of a ragtag bunch in the backfield. And obviously behind a great offensive line, which is going to help that running game. Going back to the squad here. Went Houston Linebackers second. Wound up with the Buffalo DBs. So Brian has good defense, which I think is probably the average defense, right? I mean, are we probably closer to good as being, you know, that gives you a solid D here. You typically would stand out as a outstanding defense in most years. But this year, you're sort of keeping up with the Joneses. You're good.
Yeah, I think there's more good run defenses than anything else than average.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably 50-50 split on the pass defenses.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say half of everybody has good or excellent, and the rest have average.
Looking closer at the Houston Linebackers here, which is a really solid bunch. They are designed to be a 3-4. And you've got 6 on the outside with an 8 pass rush, 5 and 5 in the middle, and then another 5 on
That's pretty solid.
On the right side. Yep. Not giving you much pass rush, kind of like Denver in that way.
Nobody else does. I mean, there's very few that can give you pass rush.
Yep. And I don't know how many 3-4s we wound up with here. Let's see, get an idea. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at least 8. So more than half the league wound up 3-4 with only how many defenses actually run it? 1, 2, at the top anyway, only a handful, right? Like 4 out of the top 15 actually run it. But most of us in our league have been able to fashion our defenses to move to the 3-4, which we all understand why. Flat pass protection and really nice run defense inside the 10. Anything else on Brian's squad? It's the Miami defensive line.
The best kicker by far. Your premium is dangerous. He's a very good kicker. I don't know if he went too early, but he's really
that's an interesting pick right there. You know, I mean, he could have gotten his QB there instead of Barkowski.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's what stands out. That's a really good point. You've got 6 quarterbacks that went in that following round.
Yep.
We could have had a pretty meaningful upgrade in quarterback. Instead, ended up with Garrow, you know. And the next best kicker, which I guess is San Diego, went back just pure kicking with the group. Went back in the 7th round.
Yeah, so he could have taken him a little later, maybe another round, at least another round.
Yep. Dennis opened up with the Tampa Bay defensive line. All these defensive lines in the first round. So we had 3, 4, 5, 7 defensive lines taken in the first round. Dennis was the 4th. And he paired that with the Atlanta Linebackers in the next round, which has led to him being good against the run, average against the pass, as he held on to the defensive backs until the 7th round. Picked up Jim Hart, a quarterback, in the 3rd, which gives him a really nice passing threat. I mean, I think everybody was. Yeah. What's Dennis Leung's team name? Is that Philadelphia Stars? Is that right? Is he? Nope. He was the other.
He's
Rams
the Rams
Fire.
Yeah, Ramstein Fire. That's a German metal band.
So there's Jim Hart's card. Nice long gain right on 5. 33 yards on 5 in the long pass. And also picked up a long gain on 10, guessed right.
Yeah, he's a little inconsistent on the flat pass from what I see.
Yeah.
But otherwise, his short passes, especially if you're wrong, he'll kill you.
Yeah.
So
offensive line is the Jets. That's true for a lot of these teams, and it's something I was certainly thinking about. Is if I can't get a premium pass blocking team, then some of these quarterbacks who have blanks all over their flat passes is actually going to come back to hurt.
Yeah.
Because you're going to put yourself in some perilous positions in terms of facing good pass rushes if you have to throw short and long, and you really don't have a good flat pass option.
Yeah.
And certainly true. I mean, most of us don't think about the other side of the equation, but that flat pass defensive card, when you roll 4, 5, 6 in these leagues, is not a very friendly place to be. With all those -4s on 10, I mean, there's negatives everywhere. It seems maybe you eke out a 3-yard gain. So you really are relying on your own card for flat pass yards. And if you don't have it, and you know how unhospitable the defensive card is, that takes away a big part of your offensive game plan.
Yeah, the Jets tight end and fullback is actually a pretty nice unit, if I recall.
Yeah, let's take a look here. Dennis, what we're talking, Dennis went up with the New England Jets tight end, right? Okay. So let's take a look here at tight end.
Look at the running backs.
Yep.
There.
There we go.
And I think Jerome Barker and Mickey Schiller are pretty good tight ends, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. So the biggest yards was for Barker. Yep, as you say. Nice card.
Yeah, they're very consistent guys.
Yep. Nice card, definitely.
Oh.
How's he blocking? 5-run block. That's a nice card for sure. Any fullback threats here? Let's see.
Kevin Long, I think, is the one that's pretty good.
214 carries. So, yeah, Kevin Long's really nice.
Yeah.
He's got short gains across the board on 4. Nice right running for the most part. Certainly get you 2 yards off tackle when you need it. 3, guessed right.
Yep. And doesn't fumble either.
Yep.
Good part.
He's pairing him with the New England halfbacks.
They got Horace Ivory, I believe, is the one that is good.
Horace Ivory right here, 4.9 average.
And Andy Johnson, like just good running backs.
141 carries there. He's got to play with that a little bit. And who's the other one?
Andy Johnson.
Andy Johnson, thank you. Another 147 carries, 4 fumbles.
Yeah, they played the carry that year. No, they do fumble a lot, though. That's one thing that they do.
Well, Hart gives them a nice threat right off the bat. Philadelphia wide receivers went in 6.
Yeah, I think it's Harold Carmichael is one of them, if I recall.
Yep, and that's one of the best cards in the league.
Yeah,
it's Carmichael. But it's tough. I mean, you can stop one receiver.
Yeah,
you can always stop one, and that's a great card. Long gain 7, right or wrong. Don't see that often. Beautiful short pass wrong.
Yeah,
tough card to beat. Brian led off with the Miami QB.
I love Bob Greasy.
Let's take a look at Greasy.
He's really good in the flat.
So not Strock, but Greasy. Greasy, who had a really good game in that Houston game you were talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great flat pass card.
Yep.
probably second best in the set overall, if not best. And he can really throw at all three levels. He can throw at all three levels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just didn't make sense to me to take him ahead of Bert Jones. So, I just said maybe he'll come back the second round, and I was very wrong. He never came back.
Mm-hmm. The pick is average, right? It's not good.
Yeah.
But it's average. He's got one on Snake Eyes, right or wrong, deep.
Yeah.
But 2 through 8 short passes. Yeah, he's going to throw a few of those, but that's not unusual in the set at all.
No.
And it can definitely move the ball via flat pass. Pairing that with the Rams halfbacks, so waited to round 9 to get the halfbacks in.
Yeah, those are not very good running backs, if I recall. Wendell Tyler is their best guy.
And had the New England fullbacks. Maybe there's more juice there.
A little bit.
So, Don Calhoun.
Yeah, and the Sam Bam Cunningham is the other.
Yeah.
I remember those guys very well because I was in college when all these things was going on.
Ah.
So.
Yeah, I have no recollection of Don Calhoun whatsoever.
I know you were a kid, you don't remember. I'm sure Dennis remembers.
But that's a pretty nice card right there.
No, it is very nice.
That's a really nice card. Let's take. I'm just 76 attempts and 1 fumble, so he's probably got a decent fumble. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to rely on him a lot. And you said Wendell Tyler.
Yeah, he catches the ball well, but he's not much of a threat to run the ball. Not even that.
Yeah, not much going on there. Let's see. Bruce Harper is coming over from the Jets unit.
Yeah,
and he's got a nice poppy card.
Bruce Harper's had a nice card.
So 58 carries, 3 fumbles. So he certainly has an elevated fumble.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a nice card. Got some pop.
Yeah, but here's the fumble. Look, he's got no fumbles in his card.
Yeah, it's just individual fumble. Three out of 58. He probably has something. Let's take a look here. Bruce Harper, 78 ratings. Harper. He's got a 5% fumble rate, so yeah, certainly elevated.
Yeah.
But he's got enough tools there to move the ball on the ground, especially with Calhoun. So Calhoun paired with Greasy. On the defensive side, Brian is looking at good. So keeping up with the Joneses there. Buffalo wide receivers last. Went New England offensive line in the second round.
Yeah, it's a pretty good offensive line. They have some really good pass blocking.
Yep. And was able to get the good by taking a defense, his linebackers in the 8th round. So, that's – and his defensive line –
There is 2 Brians. So you got the right one.
Oh, the wrong Brian. Oh, thank you. Look at the wrong one. So, let's see. He went defensive line 6.
So that's the other Brian. You're looking at the wrong Brian.
I'm looking at so this is we're looking at 12th pick Brian, right?
Yeah, so that's what you're looking at.
Okay, so I was actually looking at the right one then. Okay, so
but I was talking about the defensive line in the other chart. You were looking at Brian Lewis instead of Brian F, I think.
So we got Brian.
Brian F is average and average.
Average, right on. Okay, so average. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, getting the defensive line in the 6th and the linebackers in the 8th. Average makes a lot of sense. Which would make you wonder why you go for DBs here if you're going to wind up average in the 3rd round.
That's the reason why I waited, because I figured after I got to a certain point, I was not going to get average anyway, so it made no difference to me.
Mm-hmm. So average, does he have enough offense with Greasy and that crew of halfbacks? Probably. Greasy, just like Mike, those are like the 2 QB cards that can carry a team. Manning gets close, but Baltimore and Miami QBs for Brian F and for Mike can actually carry an offense, and can they overcome the average would be the question. And started with Denver defensive line. Must be a tough pick there to have to in the 1st round end up with the 5th best unit of defensive line, but let's see how we ended up. I'm not sure where Dan ended up with defense.
Maybe.
Let's see. I probably have it over here. somewhere. Dan's team name is. Anybody know?
He's the main
Main
moose.
Main Moose. Thank you. It says average. Not sure about that. Can't be, right?
Could be. I don't know.
Denver defensive line, Philadelphia linebackers. Let's see. Denver defensive line.
I don't have all of them done yet. So that the main moose, Dan is good against the run, average against the pass.
Okay.
Good average.
Makes sense. Minnesota QB third round. So went to Tarkington. Let's take a look at Maine here. Tarkington, surprisingly, with no must run on the card.
Yeah, that's surprising.
Great flat passer.
I think he was like 34 years old at that time.
So there's your best flat pass in the set, right there. It's +5, guessed wrong on the interception reading.
Yeah, but Greasy was +8.
Guessed wrong, yeah?
Yeah.
On 11?
And guess right. I think he was, if you look at Greasy, I think he was +8 on a guess right. Yeah, you passed him. You see, I said.
Yeah. I was talking about the 11 reading, guessed wrong.
Oh, 11 reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at the other one.
Gotcha.
He should hit the 6, 7, and 8 at 7, though. That's the reason why.
Oh yeah, I mean that's this great third down conversion.
Yeah.
That just from a defensive standpoint, you don't know what to guard on a 3rd and 5 to 8 with these guys. They can all convert. They can all convert that throwing flat, and that's a big bonus. Interception, not good, not bad. A lot like Greasy's, right? And then he just looks a little bit worse than Greasy. So not a bad pick at all.
Not at all.
Back there in the 3rd round. Pairing that with the Cleveland halfbacks.
They're pretty good halfbacks.
Let's see here. You got Calvin Hill, Greg Pruitt, who has a fumble problem, like the rest of these Browns. He can catch. He's supposed to be able to catch. Not bad, not great either. Nice running card if he can hold on to the ball. His individual fumble is pretty high, right? I think among the highest of the high carry guys. Let's see here. That's Mike Pruitt, yeah, and there's Greg Pruitt. 6.82% fumble.
Yeah.
So not somebody you're going to have carry the ball with a lead. And you look at that in a basic game, Cleveland has that fumble on 10, automatic fumble on 10. Huh. I didn't even notice that. I don't really look at it, But that gives him another 0 there, interestingly, on off tackle. It's a really nice card if it wasn't for the 7% fumbles.
The high risk, high reward card.
Yeah, no kidding. And Calvin Hill, 80 carries. Nice receiving card, that's for sure. The fullback set for Denver, which he ended up, I believe, taking pretty late. Is that right?
I think the tight end is decent.
Oh, he ended up with Detroit tight end. Thank you. I said Denver. So this is DEN. Yeah. So from a running perspective, Horace King, 155 carries, has a nice card there. Nice card. Let's hope and pray he doesn't have a big fumble. He doesn't. That's good. So you might see Horace King get the majority of carries. Then tight ends, William Gray.
I think David Hill, if I recall.
What, David Hill?
I think so.
Yeah, 53 catches. That's way up there, maxed out.
Yeah.
Short pass wrong. Look at the really nice flat pass.
Yeah.
Not much deep.
No.
And I believe we have. I think we cap actual. Do we or do we not cap actual long? It doesn't much matter. He's got no long game there.
No, with no caps.
Okay. With the long of 32, that doesn't hurt you on a flat pass 0-2. Therefore, when that long gain pops up, which is going to pop up for him, I'm sure he's going to get a lot of flat passes thrown his way. So cobbling together, like many teams seem to be doing here, cobbling together a running game, hoping it's enough, and having a pretty solid QB, which is interesting. It's really true with all the offenses. There's except for Mike Stucci and Baltimore, you get to cobble your offense together. It's not as easy to put together an offensive game plan as it usually is in the more modern sets. And I know a lot of you guys have a lot of exposure to the older sets. I don't. So from my perspective, this is unusual.
There's a reason for that. Back then, you could not get away with the stuff that you get away with now when you're a receiver. Back in the day, you could actually hold the runner a little, the receiver a little bit. The rules are a little bit different. It was more geared for you towards running the ball rather than passing the ball. So you don't see those guys that are, outstanding out there, that you see nowadays. Yep. So, it was not very uncommon to see a game that ended up 17-14.
Yeah,
because that's the way it was.
And it's pretty good. I mean, just watching that Houston-Miami Monday night game I was telling you about, I mean, that was a pretty good product. The hitting was really good. I mean, it was very, very physical. I mean, so many flags would have happened on late hits today.
That would never happen. You could actually, if you saw, what was his name, the defensive back for the Raiders? You remember the name?
Haynes or Lester
yeah,
Hayes?
Lester Hayes.
Lester Hayes and Mike Haynes.
Yeah, those guys would take
the assassin.
They would just take your head out of the ball. They didn't care, So, and nobody stopped them. It was not like now, like, you can't hit it that hard, whatever. You destroy the quarterback, so sorry, so sad. That it was.
Looking at Dan's team, it certainly seems to be with a pretty good quarterback and a good defensive pairing. You've got a good average D. Should be in the mix. John led off with the second offensive line of the first round with the St. Louis offensive line. I'm not sure how often that happens, Dennis. You have two offensive lines go in the first round, but
not very often. Not very often.
And interestingly, neither of them, stood out. I think I took Miami in the 80. I think we played the 89 set a couple years ago, and the only reason I did that is because there was a huge gap between 1 and 2. Here, St. Louis is 52, and St. Louis is 52, and you still had a third offensive line out there that was pretty close. You had New England at 52 total points, St. Louis 52, Houston 50, Rams 50. Then you had the drop off after 4 of them to Miami at 46 points. So going for the first round offensive line didn't pick up.
It's the best pass blocking set in the whole league.
Oh yeah, 30 points. That's definitely separation there.
Yeah.
So 4 points better than Houston or New England, the second best. So yeah, that's for sure. I mean, that's your separation point. 5, 7, 7, 4, 7, and that 4 is tucked in at right guard. So it's certainly has its advantages, no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then went to Fouts, who just doing my quick analysis, he wasn't in the top group, and I could easily be wrong about that.
No, he was not.
John,
he doesn't become good until the next year or two. That's when he becomes really good.
Certainly a good name, right? But I don't know about the card.
Yeah, the card is not as good. It's
take
good,
a
but
look.
it's not the greatest.
Yeah, it's good. It certainly is good. I mean, you got the 7 long gain wrong on long pass. That's nice. You got the 7 short pass correct across the board. I mean, he's good at 7s, and that's certainly good. That's certainly a good thing. So 7 double teamed. Get your completion on flat pass. It gets you completion on short pass. 7 gets you a long pass, long gain. He's got 4 and 10 long pass right. Will get him yards. So, definitely one of the better cards out there. whether there's value in him at the, let's see, that would have been the fifth quarterback. Yeah, that's right in the ballpark. Bradshaw went 2 picks later, right?
I like Bradshaw a lot.
Yeah.
He's got a nice, solid card. Actually, he was the MVP of the league that year. So,
and then you got the Miami halfbacks with Fouts.
He's basically Delvin Williams. That's what it is.
So let's take a look at Delvin. Yeah, he was probably on everybody's radar screen, certainly mine as well.
He's got a decent card. I mean,
nice card. Yeah.
He catch the ball a little bit too.
272 carries, 4 fumbles, so it's a nice fumble.
Yeah.
That's, it's not probably going, you're probably relying on the linebuck most, I guess. Just taking a look. Did you pick up that short gain 6, guessed wrong? You're still getting some positivity right. It's that 6-7 off tackle wrong that would frustrate you and lead you over.
Yeah, Delvin was the kind of running back that he would go like for 2 or 3 yards, like 3 or 4 times, and then boom, he would just turn one for 30 yards.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he was.
Yep.
He initially played for San Fran. They got him on a trade. They traded Freddie Solomon for him. I'm taking you back in history now a little bit. The other wide receivers got Steve Largent, who's a really good receiver. That's the nice thing about him.
Does he have the Seattle wide receivers? I'm just on a different page.
Yeah,
I'm looking for.
Yeah, they have good depth too. Seattle may not have the star quality of some other groups, but they go pretty good 1 through 4.
There it is. So he wound up with. Oh, we had somebody join. Stand by. Here comes Butch. Hey, Butch.
Good afternoon, guys. How are we?
We are doing well. I think we zoomed past your team at some point. Yep, you were early on. You were the second one we covered. We're down to John, Jay, Rick, and Ken at the end, but we can certainly wheel back around to yours.
Anthony, make it full screen again.
Sure. Thank you for that
mugs
reminder.
on the side.
I miss that all the time. Yep, there we go.
Thanks.
Yep, thanks for the reminder. John's D is average. So he's got to make up some ground on offense, and is that enough? Is going to be the question. So he certainly has a great offensive line, a quarterback who can move the ball, and Delvin Williams. So it should be a potent offense. Enough to overcome one of, when you look at when you rank top to bottom, a lower half defensive rating is going to be the question. Jay led off with the Atlanta defensive backs, which is the 3rd defensive back group taken in the round. Turned around a few picks later and did the New England defensive line. So in defense, but didn't get a rating. Saved his linebackers, which drive your ratings for later to the 4th round with the Rams. And as a result, Jay is good and good. So everything worked out. He ate up his 3 of his first 4 picks with defense, but he ended up good and good. And the one offensive pick was the Miami offensive line. Then went tight end. So went offensive line, tight end, receiver, then quarterback and halfback. So didn't go for the battery until later. Wound up with the second to last quarterback, if I'm not mistaken, and chose Stabler.
He broke Kenny's heart because he wanted Stabler. To me, Kenny is too much of a high-risk player.
Mm-hmm.
He's got all these interceptions. You never know what he's going to do. But that's his biggest weakness. He's a great quarterback. Otherwise, he's very accurate. But
we had Rick win the Summer Sprint League one year with a really high interception, Vince Ferragamo. So high picks doesn't always mean that you're going to get. If you just go on a nice run in the playoffs, that short pass card wrong is fantastic.
I know.
So you just don't roll a 10. That's all you got to do.
Don't roll a 10, you're begging, and don't roll a 2 in the long pass. Actually, no, the 3 is a 4.
It's a 4. Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard for me to say the short pass is fantastic when 10 is 2 through 8 interception, but it certainly is good. I mean, wow. I mean, there's completions everywhere. Otherwise, that's for sure.
Well, look at this. If you guess right, it's 2 to 11 for an interception. It's like you almost guaranteed an interception there.
Yeah,
that's tough. That really is.
So
But knowing me, I'll probably roll 11s and 12s, that kind of stuff, and get killed.
did he pick up other halfbacks? Let's take a look at the halfback group.
San Diego
Because-
halfbacks are not that great that year.
Because you don't want to live off Kenny Guest Wright all day. I imagine.
I know.
So who are you going to turn to?
They got
to run the
Lionel
ball?
Mitchell, if I recall, but he's their main running
Jay,
back.
Jay is very good at managing his carries and getting people, run until people get frustrated and start calling run, and then he'll unleash the passes. But he's got a lot of good guest right runners. Rob Carpenter being number one among them. So you want to just call pass all day, he'll run guest wrong over and over and over again. So be prepared, folks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Carpenter with 82 carries, so a little bit limited. Is that right? Yeah. I don't think he fumbled. That's nice. And then Lydell Mitchell, 240, gets some carries there with only 2 fumbles. That's nice. Can he move the chains? Yeah, he can move the chains. Yep. Guessed wrong? Absolutely. Yep. You just get frustrated on the 6. Otherwise, you can move the chains guessed wrong for sure. So there's ways to do it to take pressure off Kenny. But even guessed wrong, Kenny's an INT threat. That's the key to overcome for Jay. Moving on to Rick and his Houston defensive line pick and the parade of first-round defensive lines, which continued into the second. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 defensive lines taken in the first 21 picks. And this was the 6th, I believe. Houston. Followed up by Philly halfback and pick QB. Rick was the second team, I believe, to have his offensive battery set up right behind Mike.
Hey guys, I'm going to jump off. Thanks for doing this. I'll watch the rest of it later. Good luck to everybody this year. And I should have a file out tonight for you to double check. I got to go take the kids bowling right now, but we'll be back and doing some stuff later.
Good luck
Sounds like a
bowling.
plan. Yeah, I'm gonna have to have dinner pretty soon, so I'm waiting to hear Kenny's thing, so I'll let him know, how he did.
Sure. Okay, let's take a look at Bradshaw here. So
Bradshaw's pretty
Bradshaw,
good.
one part of this battery. Yeah, that's pretty good.
He's solid.
INTs
Again-
on 10 are annoying.
Yeah.
Of course. But
But
better.
he can go deep too, consistently, which is really nice. So
we got the 4. Yeah, Fouts had 4 and 10, right? There is certainly a case for Fouts over Bradshaw. There's a case for it. Pretty good one. Nice flat pass on 6-7. Nice short pass guessed right, 6-7. So Bradshaw can certainly do some damage. Solid there, and then Wilbert Montgomery at halfback. So this is
Monty's pretty good. Look at the end run. Short gain. That's like that.
Yep.
It's a pain in the ass.
And I think he's a very good fumbler, right? No problems there. Yeah, 259, 6 fumbles, so not bad at all. This is one of the, I would argue this is a better battery. Maybe. No, I guess it's not because of the quarterback. But it's right there with Mike as having the best battery. He paid a price for it with the 2nd and 3rd round, but it's good.
Yep.
Yeah. Montgomery is worthy of that second pick at halfback, and Bradshaw can throw.
Mm-hmm.
So Rick put together one of the better offenses out there, and then turned around on D and wound up good on the run and pass average. Makes sense.
Yeah, he also got a pretty nice tight end on the New Orleans guy.
And the St. Louis receivers are just fantastic deep threats, as I recall. So let's take a quick look here. We've got, Mel Grey. Look at that.
Yeah, look at that. Jesus. That's vicious.
You got Leonard Thompson here.
Yep.
Not bad at all. Not great, but not bad. And then you've got, I know I'm looking for somebody else here. You got Pat Tilley, who's good. Yep, let's take a look at
Henry Childs, I think he was good.
Childs. Look at that. So he was by far the best tight end long pass threat. So there's threats all over the place.
Yeah.
Here.
He's going to be a difficult team to stop.
Yep. Yep, really strong offense. Defense just a half step behind everybody. I mean, I think in this set you want to be good and good. That's where you want to be. Good and average, though, I think is well compensated for with one of the better structured offenses in the league.
Yeah.
So Rick should be right in the mix. You may have had somebody join. Stand by. Oh, Butch is back.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Butch, you're back. Hello.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Doing well. And we're on to Ken, and we'll come back to Butch after we do Ken here. So Ken had the last quarterback taken with the Rams. So I don't know, guys. You know better than I do. If you had your choice of those, last dozen quarterbacks, would you have wound up with the Rams?
Pat Hayden is a pretty good quarterback, actually, for being picked up so late. He can run a little as well, which is kind of nice. So I don't think he turns the ball over that much. So it's not a bad pick.
Pick up the card here. Yep, interceptions, average to below average. It looks like average.
Yeah. I think he'll be running the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he runs the ball well, if I recall. He still got the end run as well in there.
Yeah.
Pat Hayden does. Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah.
Nice must run. Not the end run of dreams or anything.
No, but
But
he's
on a
got
second and
something.
9 from inside the 10, you can both try to there. Yeah.
Yep.
The
end run is pretty good. Plus 18, plus 21.
Yeah.
Short gain, plus 23. He can run a little bit.
Yeah, really nice must run, and it comes up on 5? Okay. Yeah. That's one of the better must runs out there, actually. 7 is 6 yards. You'd love to see a 7 or 8 there to pick up that first down, but you really can't complain about the must run. So not so bad for the last quarterback in the set.
All right.
That is getting paired with the Buffalo halfbacks, which he took up in the 5th round.
Buffalo halfbacks aren't that bad at all, if I recall.
They're not.
Roland Hooks is one of them, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
You missed him.
There he is. 76 carries, so a little bit limited in that way, but a nice card.
Yeah, and the other guy's good too.
Yeah. What is it? Miller.
Miller. Yeah.
Cleo Miller here.
Terry Miller.
Terry Miller.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's the main.
238 carries.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
He can streak and stretch. I mean, he's a guy you definitely would run at the end of the half.
Yeah.
Look for a home run.
Exactly.
Yeah. And how's his fumbles? So a little elevated fumbles there for Terry Miller. 8 fumbles on 238 carries.
Yeah.
Fullback, Cleveland.
Mike Pruitt is pretty good, if I recall.
A lot of fumbles again there, but
yeah. But he's got the 4 short gain across the board.
yeah. That whole Cleveland team fumbled. I think the coach fumbled.
3 out of 135 is probably one of the better hands guys on that unit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you remember the coach is at one time? Come on, one time.
One time, baby.
One time. I forget his name.
Sam Rutigliano.
That's the one, yeah. I never still remember him.
Ozzie Newsome with a nice card.
Also, Newsom has a nice card, yes.
Yep. All right, so an offense that it's definitely not the top.
Right.
So, but not so bad. And then on the defensive side for Ken, he wound up good, and he needed that. Okay, so you can see the pathway to victory for Ken is going to run through his defense and try to cobble together the offense.
Maybe he'll win his first game of the tournament because he went 0-16 last time before.
Oh wow.
He started to learn the game because he's always played baseball with me. I mean, try to tell him to play football is a lot more fun. So he's starting to understand the game better now. So he'll do better this time.
DL and D-backs to start the draft brought the linebackers in from Cincy in the 8th round and still wound up good. So that's actually some good drafting there to be able to set yourself up. Know you can go good. Wait until the end and try to fill out the team with a good tight end unit.
Yeah, he picked up a receiver also in the New York Giant kick punt return thing. He picked up a pretty good receiver, if I recall. He was telling me about it.
Jimmy Robinson?
He's probably Jerry Robinson.
Yeah, Jimmy Robinson here. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. I think, in some of these that I've seen before, Tom would give you a sort of how many wins he gets per team. I have no idea. I would never dare at this point to guess that. Let's go back, though, Butch, to your draft. You went San Diego defensive line after Dallas. Who else was on your list there?
Well, I was hoping for just hoping at a prayer that Joe wouldn't take the Dallas DL.
Mm-hmm.
But it came to me between San Diego D-line and the KC running backs, really. That's what it was. And could have went either way, but the pass blocking, I think, is so poor this year that I really wanted that big pass rush. So I went with the San Diego D-line. So, and they have like 30 points of pass rush or something like that, I think. So.
Then
that's going to be critical, I think, because there is not that much pass rush on the defensive line.
Yeah, the pass blocking is really bad this year. So.
Yeah. It's because teams didn't pass the ball that much.
Exactly.
They would start in the flat, little short passes and stuff like that. They didn't go deep very often.
Yeah.
So it's a different way of playing than it is nowadays.
Yep.
You went defense, and it turned out for you to get good.
Yeah, I wanted to get that squared away. And, the Minnesota linebackers was kind of a stretch, too. I was going to try to get more pass rush there, but I just went with the 6'6", I think they are. So to get some runs.
Yeah, you did the same thing I did with Dallas. Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're about the same kind of defense.
Yep.
As far as the linebackers, but I was lucky that I paired him up with Pittsburgh. That gave me an excellent run defense. That was the only difference.
I was stretching that. I was hoping, but it didn't come through. So
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry, Anthony.
You end up with the San Francisco Halfbacks. Was that a part of the plan, or did something go wrong in the plan that led you there?
A little of both. I'll be honest with you. I had my eye on Buffalo's halfbacks. I did, but they went, I think, right before me or real quickly before me. So I just decided to wait because I figured, when you get into that last tier of running backs, you got San Francisco. I had San Francisco and San Diego kind of lumped together, and then even Turdell Middleton of Green Bay was in that group as well. They all have a lot of carries, and none of them are going to break anything. But the thing I liked about San Francisco is the fact that they have OJ the felon, but then they also have
he'll kill for you.
Yeah, he'll kill for you. But they have Hofer, who has a pretty good card too, a usable card. So, and he's also so I went that route.
Well, OJ catches the ball pretty good too, so
he does.
That helps a little bit.
And I'm really going to rely on my fullbacks a lot too because I have Pete Johnson and Curtis Brown to run the ball.
Yeah, Pete Johnson is pretty good.
Yeah, I like Pete Johnson. Pete Johnson stood out to me. When you took Cincinnati tight ends, they were on my list for sure for that next pick, and you got him in before. And a big reason was Pete Johnson. He brings you that 5 run block to help your halfbacks, and he also can do some damage running.
And I was really surprised that Curtis Brown on the Buffalo returners lasted as long as he did. He's got a decent return card. He's got 2 touchdowns. But he also can run the ball, I think 80 carries, 100 carries, something like that.
Yeah, 128 carries. 7 fumbles, though.
He fumbles.
And let's see here. Yeah, it runs pretty well, especially in linebuck.
Yep.
Can get you even 5 yards guessed right, 4 yards guessed right on the 6 and 8.
I mean, the way I looked at this, the running back tiers, I mean, there was a few at the elite, then a bunch in the middle, and then a couple at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't get, I mean, even I wasn't even that much in love with Earl Campbell's card. I'll be honest with you. So,
yeah, and I took him.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted him. You took him right before me, but he was like, he was there, but it's like one of his worst cards, and it's a good card, but one of his worst cards. And even Walter Payton's card's not that great.
Yeah. We were saying earlier on the broadcast, I mean, he appears to us to be Campbell undercarded. And the issue, though, is when you stack him up against everybody else in the set, he probably should go right around there. Yeah. Because, your next guy should be Peyton, right? But Peyton is all about the intangibles. He's not about a particularly good running back.
Yeah, he blocks and catches and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't fumble like Campbell does.
Yeah,
so let's just talk a second about your quarterback choice. So you went right in the middle of a QB run, right? You were right in the middle of it. You had Staubach go, Jaws right before you, and then 2 of the next 4 picks after you were QBs. Was Pastorini who you were eyeing, or did you have somebody else in mind?
I had Staubach and Pastorini on my list. I love Pastorini's, short pass Gaston card. So I'm hoping, he's not going to burn anybody deep too much, but he does have a pretty good short card. So I'm looking at that, thinking that maybe, and he doesn't throw a lot of picks. So he's
we were
usable.
talking about this earlier. I don't like Pastorini that much because his guess right pass is very inconsistent. That was my thing.
Yeah.
And I remember when he played for Houston back in the day, that he was super inconsistent, when he was out there. So, and I guess I have that memory of that still ingrained in my eye, sometimes.
Yeah.
So
he's got that. You get that big hole in the middle of that guess right short pass, but
like so many others, though.
Yeah, he's usable. He's usable.
That whole. From that point down, there's not many great short pass cards there.
Yeah.
Sipe would have the best one, I think, by far after Pastorini. So you're just going to have to live with that hole at that point for picking a QB. I would have taken Pastorini if you would have fallen to me instead of the Detroit quarterback. Yeah. So you did. You can take some solace in that if you were wondering.
I had Landry on my list too. I think Landry has a usable card as well. So
yeah.
That's thing. If I recall, these were all like tied up together. All these quarterbacks. I almost took Staubach as well when I took the San Diego receivers. But I didn't want to give Dennis the San Diego receivers and the Kansas City running backs. So basically, I was doing a lot of preventive approach on this stuff. If Dennis wouldn't have been there, I wouldn't worry too much about it. But he's so good at this game that I just figured I had to take them away.
Isn't it funny how we draft so Dennis can't get players?
We were talking about this earlier. I took the offensive line so he wouldn't take it.
Yeah.
So I should have taken the Washington defensive backs. I will have an excellent defense all the way across right now.
Well, when my draft's not going the way I want and Dennis picks after me, I just pick the Seahawks just for the heck of it.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah. Look, I would subscribe to this theory if we could actually trade more. If you take Seattle and you get, and then you can trade with them, right? If you're in a draft league and you get Russell Wilson, then you got some offers coming your way.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about it.
Who did Dennis get as his quarterback? I don't even remember.
Staubach.
Okay, he's got Staubach.
Yeah.
He's going to have a decent offense, So. Dennis usually goes hot defense, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, he was kind of forced to go linebacker and DL at the end and sort of settle for average. And once that was in the cards, he just loaded up with offense, and didn't try to push it, which makes sense. All right. Any other comments, Willie or Butch?
No, I'm wondering what the odds are of making the playoffs here. Who would you think has the best team, or the top 5 teams, I guess, if you want to call it?
I don't know. You can say who has the best units here and there. The best offenses certainly belong to Mike and to Rick, unless I'm missing something.
Byron's is always tough. Rick is always tough. I don't remember who Mike has off the top of my head.
Well, Mike has Bert Jones, and he's got the Dallas halfback, but it's really going to be held by his fullback. His fullbacks are really good too. Yeah. So he's going to be difficult.
They're both good coaches too. That plays into it a lot as well.
They both of them are, Mike is average on defense, which puts him at the bottom in terms of ratings. And then Rick is good and average. So Rick might have a little bit of an advantage there when it's all said and done. If you just go by those overall ratings. But those offenses stick out. There's a lot of good defenses out there. There's a handful of excellence. Good means you're just sort of keeping up. So I don't know. Do you have any thoughts, Willie or Butch, on the other ones that stand out?
I would say Dennis is always going to be tough with those running backs. Those running backs are going to be really hard to stop.
Yeah. And I look at the coaches too. Dennis, Jay, Mike, Rick, they're all good coaches. Dan's a good coach. Most of these guys are good coaches. All of us have been playing with them for a long time. At least some of us have, and we kind of know their styles and what they do. So this is going to be all about shaking it up. You know, I usually go all offense. This year I went defense. It's going to be different for me as well. So
Mhm.
it's going to be fun. You know, I like my team, so they're probably going to suck. I'll be honest with you. That's the way it usually goes for me. Last year I hated my team, and I went to the playoffs and the battle royale. So we'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for participating. Appreciate it. Good luck, everybody.
Thank
Let's get the season started.
And where did you get it
Great.
going?
All righty. Have a great night.
You too.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.